Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to talk about something very important here today, and it is the fact that many people are complaining of Western governments acting on behalf of oppressive religions and oppressive governments abroad to basically silence dissidents, to silence those who are coming out whistleblowing to the West and saying, hey, by the way, there's a conspiracy against you guys. There's something going on. They're trying to come conquer you, lie to you. They're launching this political warfare against you. And some political representatives within these Western governments who hold power are going after these dissidents to serve their foreign gods. And what's going on right now, let me share this with you, is the Hamid Coskun case. In London, back in 2023, Hamid Coskun, right here, bald guy, he's an ex-Muslim from Turkey, escaped Turkey, left Islam, went to the UK, sought refuge, was granted refuge, asylum, and he's living in the UK, right? And he's enjoying the fruits of foundational Western civil principles. He goes and stands in front of the Turkish embassy with a Quran in his hand and he burns it in London. He says, this does not represent us here. This has a bad conspiracy against the West. This is not compatible here. They're taking over. They're silencing dissidents. We cannot criticize them. They're silencing us everywhere. Then this guy right here, civilized bin Laden, comes out of nowhere from one of the buildings nearby and goes after a bald guy, Hamid Coskun. He's like trying to shank him, trying to kill him, right? Hamid Coskun ends up getting slashed and then hospitalized. This guy gets prosecuted shortly and never gets sent to prison. He never does time. And he's just given probation. In the UK system, it's called suspended sentencing. So imagine using a deadly weapon. See that long knife? It looks like 8 inches. Imagine using a deadly knife, a deadly weapon, and that type of like blind madness, the anger or that comes from like jihadi land in a Western civilized secular country. And you go after somebody who offended your religion at any point. So he burned a Quran. It's a book. It's a book made by a printer. He offended the book that's made out of a printer. I'm going to take his life. And that guy gets away with it. You may be wondering, what happened to Hamid Coskun, the poor victim here? Oh, he's been fighting the court. He is still fighting. He's not like, his case has not been resolved yet. He got it to somehow where a judge said that it was his freedom of expression. Then the Southwark court prosecutors went after him in London and they appealed it and they said, no, it wasn't. It was disrespectful. And they invoked the Public Order Act, which is like if you do something that's going to cause public order situations, risks, you're going to go to jail. You go into jail, you bad boy. That's what they did to him. They said, you are going to jail. And not even jail, he's going to go to prison. What type of prison, you may be wondering? What exists there? Muslim gangs and the representatives and the gangs and the mafias and the people that owe them favors who are 100% going to kill Hamid Coskun if he goes to prison. Wow. So now what do we have here, right? We have this guy in public trying to get shanked by civilized bin Laden. People are watching. The police come. They take this bald guy to the hospital. They take this guy to jail. The guy goes out of jail, probation only, and that guy has been stuck trying to fight the court so that he doesn't go to prison. It's crazy. And who is being served here? Who's being served here? The foreign governments that prosecute people and actually torture and enslave and dehumanize people and cut people's heads off. These are the people that are benefiting from this type of dynamic, because guess what they're creating? They're saying, look, whenever in your Allah land, we are going to persecute you to the maximum extent if you don't comply. We will literally take everything you have. We'll take your family. We'll take your wife. We'll take your house. We'll take your anything that you have if you leave Islam or if you offend Islam. It's Sharia, bro. We'll give you 3 days. If you don't repent, you'll die. You'll go through all of that. You're no longer a human to us. You are a threat to national security. That's what these governments do to their people. You identify with LGBTQ, that's not your right, they say. They say that is your sin against Allah, the Creator, according to Sharia. We are going to take you to prison, and you may get abused in prison in that way, by the way, but we're not going to talk about that. There's a lot we don't talk about. We'll just take you and we'll abuse you and we'll do whatever we want with you, and nobody's willing to talk or represent you. That's exactly what happens to people that don't go firm with these Islamic systems, and that is the truth. But now, the creepy, sketchy thing that we're seeing is that it's coming here to the lands of the free, to societies that are functioning based on civil standards, liberty, right? Individuality. But they came up with this type of, I'd say the political left came up with it because they hosted them, that we're going to have to pluralistically manage religions. We're going to manage people's behavior, which is what the Islamic systems do, to ensure that there's public order. So what happens here is that when you go and you're like an ex-Muslim like him or me, you go, leave your country. And once you leave your country out of fear of persecution, or maybe it already happened to you, like it happened to me, it already happened. You've gone through it already. They forced you back, you faked it, and now you find a way to escape, and then you make it out into civil world. When you get into the civil world, you realize that communities from the region of your world where it's controlled by one system, one allegiance to one law, and one identity and one way of life, they're clustering together and they're creating political pressure to enable these new, like, flawed logical laws and practices to regulate your behavior and to keep themselves protected as a minority, so that you don't say what happened to you. You don't talk about what happened to you to people. That's why they wanted to kill you when you were at home anyways, but then you escaped and they're like, shoot, now we're going to have to figure out what we're going to do with this guy. So what do? They call their Habibis wherever they are, and they start advocating collectively. And it's a collectivist culture. So they start advocating collectively. They start voting in clusters, putting people in place, creating political pressure so that they create laws and policies that keeps their protection and limits freedom of expression and freedom of speech whenever it comes to them. You could go talk about Christians, you could talk about Jews, you could talk about Hindus and Buddhists, but you cannot talk about Islam or Allah. Because if you do that, then that's a great, like, offend to us. And we're not, that's your freedom of expression and your freedom of thought and ability to express that to people, other free people, is limited. They're not saying we don't want to hear that. They're saying we don't want you to go talk to other people about them. Like, that's the type of, like, crazy, like, sketchy control that they got going on. They don't want you to go talk to other people. I would understand if they say, no, we don't want to hear that. Thank you. Go say that to someone else. That's not what's happening. They're saying we're going to go into the law and we're going to make you unable to say that to anyone else. Even the people that are like you, we're a minority. There's probably a lot of people like you. We're going to force everyone else not to talk about this, even though it's factual. It's factual. It's been proven by hundreds of thousands of cases. It's proven by the UN. It's proven by hospital records. It's proven by people that are currently imprisoned for their sexual orientation or their religious expression or their prolicitation of their own faith, whatever it is. They don't want you to talk about these things because they want to come here and they want to make it like they're taking, like it's such a great ideology and a great way of life and a great faith. It's the ultimate supreme truth that nobody is leaving. There's no negative things about it, and it's just going to be okay. All right, we're good. We are such saints. But what they're not telling you is that they're trying to come here and they're actually recruiting people and raising kids to come here to procreate at a massive rate, fueled by their own polygamy, which is why they want to establish Sharia councils as a slow step towards like this creeping legal ideological framework to basically allow their men to marry more than one woman at once, give them the benefits of that, give them welfare, keep them keep them coming so that it's only like some decades that go by. It's not so far that they start having their own territories. It's what happened to Rome. Rome, it's exactly what happened. People moved in mass, they started procreating at a higher rate, and they were unwilling to assimilate because they kept their own identity. And boom, they started creating their own autonomous territories within that Roman Empire. So what goes on is me talking about this on X. I submitted a article and I talked about it on X. And I said, the UK, Ummah Caliphate, the UK government is prosecuting Hamit Coskun, Turkish Muslim, blah, blah, blah. And I said all this, right? And then I said, the UK prosecutors claim that offending religions by burning stuff considered sacred is serious public disorder. I say, since cows are sacred to Hindus and Buddhists, let's start prosecuting those who dare to burn, smoke, grill, or eat cows. It's literally offensive because it's sacred. Cows are sacred to Hindus and Buddhists, and it's very offensive. They don't allow that. They don't allow slaughtering cows in majority Hindus and Buddhist regions of the world. They don't allow that in many parts of Nepal. They don't allow that in many. It's just a fact. But why are we just doing this, prosecuting on behalf of Muslims and not on other religions? Right? Is it one specific religion that gets UK protection from offenses, but not others? All right. Then I asked the question, where else can someone get simple probation for using a deadly weapon to defend Islam from disrespect? Islamist states, states that are ruled by Islamic principles and Sharia. In fact, such folks get honor and praise instead of probation for defending Islam. Where else can someone get attacked by deadly weapons, hospitalized, yet still faces multi-year government prosecution for offending Islam? Islamist states. And the worst happens routinely. We know this. So you know a tree by its fruits. So who exactly controls the UK? You probably guessed it right. Aloha Snack Bar. In short term, I made like a prediction. Expect bacon to become a national topic in the UK, Ummah Caliphate, for it offends the supreme religion of Aloha Snack Bar. In the medium term, expect polygamy cousin marriage to be seriously considered as they're already approved within Sharia councils. That's a fact, and are the fuel of mass procreation. That's just what they did to when they colonized northern Mesopotamia, North Africa, East Asia. That's literally what happens. They rule by procreation. They bring masses of Muslims and they just procreate at that rate and then they slowly take over. That is literally what happened in history, dude. Crazy. And here is the crazy part, right? Here's the ground shaking part that I said. It also happens to be what I was raised being taught as a Muslim, to declare jihad via migration, to procreate and multiply via polygamy and state welfare, then to slowly take over and declare Sharia. I'm willing to testify under oath in front of Congress for this, and I'm not the only one saying it out loud. Thousands of Islamic dissidents are. This is the truth, ladies and gentlemen. This is the truth. That's what happened. I'm not the only one saying this. Swear to God Almighty, I'm not the only one saying this. That's what we were raised collectively. It is a collective mutual understanding across all Muslim nations. I'm not talking every single Muslim is like that, because within these countries, there's Muslims that don't want to take over and don't even like Sharia law and are actual secular Muslims. If you are a secular Muslim, I'm chill with you. And I have so many of those people in my life that are very close to me, very, very close to me, that were at my wedding. Now, would I be okay with the ones that want to declare Sharia and want this civilized world to be exactly like where they came from? No, because that's like cancer, dude. We don't want that here. Straight up. We don't want that here. Because if we want that here, then the woman that fled these countries to come here to take off her hijab and live as a free, independent woman and pursue her career and do whatever, her family, her community are going to have reach to her. She's going to see that. Muslims, ex Muslims who left, they're going to come after them here, dude. Like, it's obvious, it's real. Now, when I talked about this, I tried to promote it. I noticed that my channel was not getting any engagement. It's not even getting pushed to anybody. Like I get like 2, 3 impressions, 5 if I'm lucky, which is the amount any post is shown on X. And then I look at it and I'm like, why is this happening? So I start researching. Why is this happening to me? And guess what I find? I find that algorithms that are being used by a lot of corporate platforms are left leaning. This is, you can look it up. I dare you to challenge me on this. You could look this up. It is well known that the training data that goes into AI systems are left leaning, more like left liberal. And it's concerning because the AI doesn't know how to weigh in what is actually bigoted hatred speech. And somebody's saying, like, oh, all Muslims are bad. We should go after all Muslims. And actual, legitimate, factual, documented cases, whistleblowing, human rights violations that criticize the core of Islamic orthodoxy and urges for reformations. There are Muslims that want reformations and that the platforms are limiting because as soon as they see the word Islam, they see the word Muslim, or they see the word Sharia, they're not going to support it. They're just going to suppress the account's reach because it is considered sensitive, right? It's considered sensitive content to do that. How dare you make these sensitive claims about Muslims, blah, blah, blah. So it's dumb. It's literally dumb. It's dumb. It's not, it doesn't have human logic. It has this curated training data that basically it's designed, right? It says designed to avoid Islam related offenses, creating a structural bias against critical narratives. They use moderation tools, right? Like AI moderation tools to figure out if like you're being mean or if this is like hateful speech or whatever, where any criticism of Islam becomes Islamophobia. It becomes a systematic filter that works on behalf of the governments that actually persecuted people who were not conforming with their own oppressive, evil systems and ideology, bro. It's so frustrating to like to recognize that this is actually happening by latte sippers who just don't care and who are just like, yeah, we're cool together, yes, whatever, and they're just dumb. They don't recognize what's going on. They straight up, they don't recognize what's going on, and I'm free to say this. I'm free because I'm in the land of the free. US of freaking A. So it also preemptively overblocks platforms, implement automated pre-publication filtering to minimize reputational risks, disproportionately affecting posts by ex-Muslims and other critiques of Islam. The implications: freedom of expression, intellectual integrity, suppressing ex-Muslims' testimony limits access to empirical observations about Islam, undermining scholarship, journalism, and public understanding. Isn't that crazy? Limiting access to empirical observations about Islam. What is very common about countries that are ruled by Islam? Lack of honest statistical studies. We don't know how many people there are Muslims or non Muslims. They say the majority are Muslim. It's usually up in the 90s, but it's like, how do we know that? How do we know it's up in the 90s if they're the ones who are telling us the numbers, right? And how do we know that it's real if people are being forced by surface to just accept that, or else the alternative is unimaginable? Then how do we know if they're truly Muslim or if they're just forced to say they are? It's very sketchy. I don't know what's going on, but I don't want that here. Ideological protectionism. Platforms effectively prioritize the protection of religious ideology over the rights of individuals to share their lived experience. Wow. So are you telling me that these platforms are now working for Allah? What? Are you telling me that the supporters of this logic and ideology who don't represent Islam but are actually just Western liberals, are you telling me that these people are doing something unimaginably stupid? That they're siding with the same system that persecuted women, that held women to a subordinate position, that held non-Muslims to a subordinate position and forced them to pay specific tasks and limited their expression, whereas fueling same religion Muslims with all types of rights to go and proselitize all around the Muslim world and outside of the Muslim world. But if you're in the Muslim world, you cannot proselitize anything else. You cannot dress the specific way you want. It's crazy, dude. It's crazy what's going on. And I said, yo, I am going to post it and I'm going to advertise it. I'm going to promote it. I'm going to pay money to promote it. And here's what happened. This account is ineligible to run X ads due to a policy violation by one or more users. Any active campaigns have been paused. Please contact X ads support to resolve this issue. Learn more about X ads policies. And when I contacted them, it was just AI. Straight up, it was just AI. Nothing happened. Nothing. There's nothing that happened. Look, right? I'm not going to get into that right now, but nothing happened. I just talked to them. It was just AI. It told me that I said I want to talk to a human being. It said it gave me a number and said it sent it to a human being. And now 4 days, nothing happened. So there you go. There you go. I don't even know if this video is going to get to anybody. I'm posting it on YouTube, but YouTube is following the same logic. It's the same exact logic. It happens. And on top of that, if your content is seen by a Muslim, all they have to do, they are more collectivist, they're not individualistic. All they have to do is send it to a group chat, people talk about it, people start mass reporting it, and then the automated systems just categorize your channel as sensitive or demeaning or whatever, Islamophobic or whatever it is. They don't necessarily have to lock you out of your account, but they'll just limit your reach and nobody will hear about it, which is crazy. They're coming for you. It's not sensationalism, it's real. My story proves it. Again, I'm willing to testify in front of Congress for it. And I'm not the only one saying it. Good luck.